Alone in the dead of night, I waged a war. A war against myself, against my own desires. A battle fought in silence, in the shadows, away from prying eyes. This was my unseen battle, my private struggle with self-gratification. It was a war that raged on, night after endless night, a conflict that echoed through the empty hours of the early morning. Each night began the same, a promise to myself that it would be different, but each night ended in the same defeat. The lure of solo pleasure, a siren's call that I could not resist, that I did not want to resist. It was an addiction, a craving that gnawed at me, that consumed me. It was a cycle, a vicious circle that spun me round and round, a cycle of pleasure and guilt, of desire and shame. I was trapped, ensnared in my own web of self-deceit and self-destruction. Each night I would succumb to the urge, and each morning I would wake up filled with self-loathing, a bitter taste of regret on my tongue. This was my silent suffering, my private torment. It was a pain that I bore alone, a burden that I shouldered in solitude. I felt lost, adrift in a sea of guilt and shame with no land in sight. I felt like a prisoner, trapped in the confines of my own desires, shackled by my own needs. I felt like I was waging a war against myself, a war that I was losing. The battle lines were drawn, but I was the only soldier on the field. I was both the general and the foot soldier, the victor and the vanquished. I was fighting a losing battle, a battle that I could not win. And yet I fought on. I fought because I had to, because I had no other choice. I fought because I was desperate, because I was afraid. I was afraid of losing myself, of losing everything that I held dear. Little did I know this battle was not just mine to fight. The day arrived when my secret could no longer stay hidden. My wife, my partner, my best friend discovered my dark secret. Imagine the shock on her face, the disappointment in her eyes. It was as if the ground beneath us had shattered, leaving us standing on the precipice of a chasm filled with hurt and betrayal. The confrontation was nothing short of a nightmare. It was a scene filled with harsh words, accusations, and raw emotions. The pain in her voice echoed in the room, each word a piercing stab to my heart. The air was heavy with a bitter mix of guilt, shame, and regret. My secret, once my solitary companion, had now become a beast, threatening to tear apart the life we had built together. The discussions that followed were brutal and heartbreaking. We shouted, we cried, we argued. The more we talked, the deeper the chasm seemed to grow. The woman I loved felt unloved, unwanted. The man she loved was a stranger hiding behind a mask. It was a bitter pill to swallow. The threat of divorce loomed over us like a storm cloud. It was a word that tasted metallic and cold on our tongues. The very mention of it brought a chilling silence in the room. Our home, once filled with laughter and love, was now a battlefield, scarred with the wounds of betrayal. The tears that followed were not just tears of sadness, but of anger, frustration, and disappointment. They were tears shed for a love that was threatened, a trust that was broken, a relationship that was on the brink of collapse. Every tear was a stark reminder of the damage my actions had caused. In that moment, I realized I had to make a change. The path I was on was not only destructive for me, but for the person I loved the most. I had to confront the beast, face my demons, and reclaim the love and life that was slipping away. I had to fight, not just for myself, but for us. I took the first step towards change. I sought help, a therapist who could guide me through this labyrinth of guilt and shame. That was the start of my journey on the road to recovery. Every therapy session was like peeling back the layers of an onion, each layer revealing hard truths about intimacy, self-love, and my relationship with myself. The therapy sessions were grueling and often emotionally draining. There were times I wanted to quit, times I wanted to run away from the harsh realities that were being uncovered. But each session also brought with it a new understanding, a new perspective. I was learning to understand my actions, my needs, and most importantly, myself. One of the most significant truths I discovered was about intimacy. It wasn't just about physical connection, it was about emotional bonding, about understanding and sharing. I realized that my actions were not just affecting me, but also my wife, the person I loved the most. I was creating a void, a chasm between us, not allowing her to share in my emotional world. Self-love, too, was a concept I had to grapple with. I had to learn to love myself, to respect my needs, and to understand that my actions were not a reflection of my worth. It was a hard pill to swallow, accepting that I had been unkind to myself, but it was a necessary step towards healing. My wife's support during this time was invaluable. She was there for me, understanding, patient and loving. She didn't just stand by me, she walked with me on this road to recovery, helping me navigate the twists and turns, the highs and lows. Her love and support helped me believe in myself again, helped me see that I was more than my mistakes, that I was worthy of love and respect. With each passing day I felt a little more free, a little more me. Each day brought with it a new strength, a new understanding, a new hope. And with each step I was getting closer to becoming the man I wanted to be, the man I knew I could be. Months turned into years. The struggle was far from easy, but every step was worth it. The battle I fought inside was not one of days or weeks. It was a long, arduous journey that seemed to stretch on for an eternity. But with each passing day, each passing month, I could feel myself becoming stronger, more resilient, more in control. The first signs of progress were subtle, almost invisible. I found myself reaching for my old habits less frequently, my mind less clouded by the fog of desire. My relationship with my wife began to change too, slowly but surely. We started talking more, spending more time together. There was a sense of connection, of intimacy that I had almost forgotten existed. As I continued to work on myself, our relationship blossomed. The shadows of doubt and mistrust that had once hung over us began to lift. We were learning to trust each other again, to open up, to be vulnerable. The love that had once seemed lost was rekindling, growing stronger with each passing day. But the transformation was not just in my relationship. The journey changed me as a person. I learned to be more patient, more understanding, more compassionate. I learned to face my fears, to confront my demons, to not let them control me. I learned the importance of seeking help, of speaking up about my struggles. I realized that there is no shame in admitting that you need help, that you are not alone in your fight. The journey was long and fraught with challenges, but it was a journey worth taking. Today I stand here not as a man broken by his past, but as a man who has conquered his demons, who has found the light at the end of the tunnel. My story is not one of shame, but one of resilience and recovery. And if I can conquer my demons, so can you. Don't let your struggles define you. Reach out for help. Speak up about your battles. Remember, it's not about how hard you fall, but about how high you bounce back.